Hi, this is Manos Brilakis, and this is case 137 for the Manual of Percutaneous Coronary Interventions. This is a challenging case of a balloon uncrossable and undilatable lesion. The patient was an octogenarian who presented with unstable angina. He was found to have a severe multivessel coronary disease with multiple severe lesions in the LAD, with aneurysmal dilation after some of those lesions. There was also concern for left main disease. There was a large ramus branch without significant stenosis, but there was an occlusion of the right coronary artery that was filling via collaterals from the left. The left main appeared to be better in other views. There's some ostial circumflex stenosis, but this is a small vessel. And the right coronary artery is occluded in the middle segment. So the question here is what to do. The first question is whether the patient should undergo revascularization, and if yes, with PCI or coronary bypass. He did have significant angina, so coronary revascularization was required. He was seen by the cardiac surgeons, and it was determined that he would not be a good candidate for bypass surgery given age and comorbidities, and therefore was referred for percutaneous coronary intervention. We do have multiple lesions in the LAD, the right coronary CTO, and in a small circumflex. The decision was to attempt PCI of the LAD, that was the larger vessel. Wiring was likely to be challenging, and we'll discuss this in the next slides, as well as lesion preparation because of significant calcification to ensure good stent expansion. Imaging is critical in these cases to exclude significant left main disease, but also to ensure that a nice final result has been achieved. So we inserted a guide wire into the ramus branch and then advanced another workhorse guide wire, Suoh blue, into the LAD. It advanced to the mid segment, but then we had a lot of difficulty advancing it past that area of aneurysmal dilation. We inserted a microcatheter and performed an injection through the microcatheter tip that showed that aneurysmal dilatation with an eccentric lesion. Eventually, using a Suoh 03 guide wire, we were able to advance through that area of stenosis into the distal LAD. It did take quite some time, but it is important to stay with soft wires. The Suoh 03 is very soft wire, atraumatic, unlikely to cause acute vessel closure, which is always a potential concern for these very tight, very eccentric lesions. So here we are with a wire through the LAD that remains significantly diseased. We repositioned the wire from the diagonal to the distal LAD, and then we actually did IVUS that showed no significant disease in the left main, but it could not go past the proximal LAD. We decided to use a supportive guide wire. So through the Caravel microcatheter, we inserted a Grand Slam guide wire, which is a very stiff wire, provides a lot of support. You can see here the guide is way out, but still we do not lose access to the vessel because of the strong support provided from the Grand Slam. We then debated about doing atherectomy versus a balloon angioplasty first. We decided to start with a balloon angioplasty attempt and had a balloon rupture in the mid-LAD. That actually caused a small area of dissection. We did more balloon attempts, but the proximal LAD was balloon undilatable with the waist in the balloon. We decided to change for atherectomy, but now the challenge we had was that nothing would go past that proximal and mid LAD, including a Turnpike microcatheter, Turnpike LP, as well as a Telemark, which is a newer low-profile microcatheter. Nothing would go through the proximal LAD. And potentially the reason is that the Grand Slam wire is very stiff and maybe biases the microcatheter towards the wall of the vessel, making it more difficult to cross. We decided to try more with balloons. There were more balloon ruptures. So it was clear that we were not able to advance any balloons or microcatheters through the wire. At the same time, we did not want to give our wire position, to give it up, because it was very hard to get there, number one. And number two, we did have some dissection in the mid LAD at the site of balloon predilatation. It was a dilemma what to do next. We decided to try to wire parallel to the original wire using the atherectomy wire, specifically the Viper flex tip that has very good handling characteristics. And it took some time, but we were able to gradually get from the proximal LAD to the mid LAD, and then eventually cross through that distal lesion that was challenging all the way to the distal LAD. So this way, we were able to cross the lesion without losing at any point wire access into the vessel. We then brought the orbital atherectomy crown. We did have the other wire into the ramus branch, but we did not want to risk having any damage of that wire from the orbital atherectomy crown. So we did remove that wire. We thought the risk of occlusion of dissection was going to be low. And then did multiple passes of orbital atherectomy. It did take quite a while to cross through the proximal lesion, and also it took a few passes to cross and successfully modify the mid LAD lesion. The patient did well. However, this is the first injection after atherectomy was completed that demonstrates slow flow down the LAD. We did have some dissection there, which for some people is a contraindication to atherectomy, but our options were very limited in this case. And actually, after ballooning the LAD, we did have a restoration of antegrade flow. We decided to proceed with stenting, and we had a hard time determining the optimal location for placing the stent because of poor antegrade filling. So we decided to pull the stent back and push it back in, but we had forgotten how difficult it was to deliver equipment because of the calcification of the vessel. And then we almost lost guide position here. So do not do this. Do not try to move the stents too much back and forth in these heavily calcified vessels, even after modification of the vessel. Eventually, we were able to get it down again and successfully deployed. And then we overlapped it more proximally, stenting all the way to the LAD ostium, having a wire into the ramus for protection. And this provided a nice result into the LAD without compromising flow into the large ramus branch. We did the intravascular ultrasound to confirm that we had a nice result. There was good stent expansion. There was some oval shape in the middle of the vessel due to the calcification, but overall the area was large, including in the left main, including into the LAD. And this is the final result with good flow down the LAD. Multiple lessons from this case. The first one is that in heavily calcified and tortuous vessels, one can have several challenges, including wiring, as well as preparing the lesion, as well as delivering stents and ensuring stent expansion. We did have a lot of difficulty wiring through the mid LAD with this eccentric and aneurysmal lesion using a microcatheter, and a soft Suoh or 3 guidewire was critical for successfully wiring through the lesion. We then thought that the stiff guidewire would facilitate equipment delivery, but actually it ended up being the opposite, likely because the stiff guidewire biased us against the wall of the vessel, and we had a very hard time delivering balloons and microcatheters. The lesions were balloon uncrossable and undilatable, and that is why we decided to perform atherectomy, but we had a difficulty with inability to exchange the original wire. This was solved by using the flex tip Viper wire, which is very torqueable, and successfully parallel wired the original wire all the way to the distal LAD. This allowed orbital atherectomy, following which we were able to expand the vessel, deliver stents, and have good stent expansion, which was confirmed by using intravascular ultrasound. Thank you.